friendly, but only because I want you to start the week out really strong, and I want you to start the week out with growth. And as you know, every single week we do 45 minutes to an hour, and we are focused on a couple of things. Either I am taking you in one of our founders in Expert Dojo. And remember, we have invested in over 300 companies. We are one of the most prolific investors in early stage startup in the world. What does that mean? It means that we have more access to pattern matching on what growth works and what growth doesn't work when building companies that have the potential to be billion-dollar companies than kind of most other people, if not anyone else. The fact that we are also growth hackers built into this means that we even, I don't know, we know even more. Okay, so hence my credibility statement. Listen, when I bring folks in, it's because I know that they're going to be really good for you. So we either bring in one of our companies that is growing at 200% or more per annum, which is on scale to be a unicorn, or I'm bringing you in one of our growth hacking expert partner friends, awesome people who know how to help companies grow. And depending on what I've seen over the previous week, I will make sure that I dedicate the entire purpose of the call to the lessons from that. Now, this week, I'm going to talk about interventions. Now, many of you know interventions. Hopefully, you don't know actually interventions when it comes to drugs or alcohol or those types of things. But it's pretty gnarly. What happens is you arrive home from whatever bender you're doing, and your whole family is sitting in there with you, and then your whole family are like, "Hey, we have to talk." And interventions are seen, possibly by the person receiving the intervention, as a bad thing. But it's not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing, because what happens is all of the people who love you more than anything in the whole world, they pile in and they're like, "We got you. And we're going to talk this thing through. And we're going to find out any of the areas of pain so we can help remove them." It ain't easy. It's not going to be an intervention and 2 minutes later, you're not going to have any cravings. Like, it's going to be an intervention, and you're going to have a path to not having any cravings in the future. That's the way it works. Now, we have implemented this in early stage venture capital because it's the same principle. The problem that we have, whether we're, struggling with growing our businesses, or whether we're growing really well, but we could be growing more, or if we're growing more, but there is potential to grow at supersonic speed. The problem is that it's very hard for us to see these ourselves. So I spent a Friday afternoon with one of our companies, and we went for 5 hours nonstop. And we started with the user experience, and then we went into the user interface, and then we went into all of it from start to finish. And the idea was, let's look at every single blockage that your customer can possibly have, and then get over that blockage, right? That's it. Now, the problem with a early stage startup is that it's like a car engine. It's exactly the same, right? There's so many pieces. And so what is it that's stopping you from growing at supersonic speed? Is it that the user experience doesn't feel quite amazing enough? And maybe they get to click 2 and they're like, "Oh, I'm so done with these clicks." But you had an amazing product at the end of click 4. And if only you could have got it to click 1.5 for the consumer to get through. It could be because your colors are wrong, or because, me personally, a pet peeve of mine is if I see photos, which are super generic photos, which are in 1,000 other places on the web, I'm like, I want to shoot myself. It's the worst thing in the entire world. So, but there's lots of other things that lots of other customers have. What do we know for a fact? Customers are weird, customers are difficult, and customers will be challenging all the way through. So you have to overcome that. So this morning, I want to bring in one of my very good friends, Ryan Edwards, who is with Camino 5. One of the first company, actually, that we brought on the intervention was Camino 5. Why Camino 5? Not only because they're one of the best branders in my mind in the entire country, but they really understand the customer journey. And the customer journey is kind of everything. And so I want to bring in Ryan. We're going to talk a little bit about, where are you, Ryan? We don't want to do that. Okay,
Hey there,
there
I'm in
he
the
is.
show.
Thank you. There he is. He comes. That's where you go when you give me access. I wonder what that countdown thing is. I just saw a countdown. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens there. But it's good. But maybe it was the countdown to the great man coming in.
Yeah, and we should know by now, never give an Irish person control and access.
Of anything, actually, of
Yeah.
anything. I'm a great follower. I'm a great follower. We can talk and we can follow and we can tell stories. And hmm, what else is there? There isn't really anything else to worry about. But so I was talking about Friday and with the session that we went through with one of our companies. And I think I really want to do this more and more and more. I love this idea of an intervention and being
Hmm.
able to come in and just say stop, because you've done it with me before with Expert Dojo, because it's not about being smart or not being smart. It's about we can't see what's happening inside our company. And that is the problem everybody has out there. You can't see what's happening inside the company, but from outside, you can. And from outside, if you're a professional, you can. So, first of all, I've already introduced you, Ryan Edwards, a part of a dynamic duo, of which Ryan is at least 20% of the value in that dynamic duo. Camino 5, like I said, one of the top agencies. And why do I say one of the top agencies? Because you understand how to look at things from the customer's perspective. So, talk to us a little bit about branding just in general before we kick into like lessons learned and making sure that we have a some great things for our followers and guests and everybody who's watching to take away. Just talk to us. What is branding for you?
I mean, for me, branding is simply how you connect to the people that your company is in business to serve. Not just your customers, not just the people who are paying you, but to everybody that your company serves. That may be people that you're creating value for that never give you a penny. That may be people who don't know they need you yet, and they're coming into it. But that's what branding is making sure you're there for everyone.
But what does connect mean though? So if what we're saying is like I want to connect with our audience. So for me, I'm Expert Dojo. We're connecting with early stage founders. Does that mean I'm just showing up?
It starts with showing up, but what really means is you understand what it is that you want to give, what the value is that you want to bring. Not only that, you understand what the value is that you want, that you can bring today, you want to bring tomorrow, and you plan on bringing next month. And you have a way to build into that value. But even more important to that is you have to understand how your value matches the problem, the need, and the want of the person, the startup founder, whoever it is that you're there to serve. Most often, almost all startups have the same problem. Almost all companies eventually have the same problem. You're focused on the problem that you're there to solve and the solution, but people don't care about the problem. They care about their outcome. They care about what you give them. So once you get past the problem's table stakes. You have to solve the problem. That's what you're in business for. That's what people, eventually pay the money for at the base level. But what you really pay above that base level for is answering their need and solving their want. If you just
And
address the problem, you're a commodity.
and even the base level like isn't enough. I'm sorry, there's too
Nope.
many products in the world. Like 50 years ago, you were just fine throwing out features all day long. Hi, we are the greatest. I had a conversation actually with one of my good friends. This guy's doing great as well. And we were
Mhm.
chatting on Saturday, and he's like, "Well, I just rebranded my site." And I'm like, "Honestly, honest truth, it's dog shit. Like it's the worst." He's gone, "No, I changed it. And what I've said is we are integrating AI in a way that is going to get you access to the greatest." No, they don't give a shit about AI. None of your customers care about AI. Like, you think I care how my engine runs inside the car? I just care that my engine is awesome to allow me to sit in the car that I bought for a totally different reason. But I'm not an engine guy. Now, if I was an engine person,
Mhm.
and you were selling me something else, then you can focus on the engine. But nobody cares about AI. Nobody cares about your features. Nobody cares
Yeah.
about your widget. The only thing, and I will take this straightly from Ryan, from what he said to me many times before, the only thing they care about is the transformative impact which has to be measured, that they are bringing to you. And I'm just challenging everybody here. Look at your website. Actually, even if somebody has a website they want to throw in here, we can have a bit of fun with that. But I'm challenging everyone. Look at your website. Look at your messaging. Look at what you have there. I promise you, 80% of websites, interactive materials, flyers, and everything is just a bunch of features that nobody cares about.
And like you said, if you just focus on your features, just focus on the problem, never get to need and the want, you're turning yourself into a commodity, which means your only differentiating factor turns out to be in the long run price. And that's just a downward slope, not the upward slope that you want.
Yeah. And it was great actually when we went through it last week, Ryan, because what you did was, which was actually even unusual for me, even in our interaction, was normally you'll take a company through and you'll say, look, we need to move past, obviously you need to have your values in there, you need to have your features in there, you need to have your benefits in there somewhere, but you need to move as quickly as possible to tethering the purpose that you have, the deep purpose that you have as an entrepreneur, tied into the transformative impact that you then have. And then built inside that is that whole user experience, that whole user journey, that whole user interface, how you're actually treating your customers. It's no different than if you were bringing them into a beautiful shop where they walk in the front door and they're like, oh my God, look at this thing here. And then they come to the next, oh my goodness, this is even better. And oh my goodness, this is even better. Like, it's not just good enough. Even going past the benefits to the transformative value, it's also about that journey, that experience that you take them through.
Right. And what was interesting about Friday, and this is something that happens to every single startup in the world, is your brand for a startup starts with the founder. If the founder doesn't have an idea of who they are and who they want the brand to be, the startup won't have the brand. And when you hit a plateau, when you're going from Horizon 1 to Horizon 2, Horizon 1, you've been in a box. You've had to have been in a box. You're in scrappy fighting mode. You're in how do I make do with what I have to make do. You're almost in contracting thought a lot because you're just putting out the fires and getting the day done. And the founder gets into that mindset, and that mindset affects the brand, which is necessary. But when you go to Horizon 2, you have to get out of that box quickly. You have to think of yourself as not the founder in the company, but the founder who's exploding the brand and growing the brand. And that requires a whole different mindset. And that's the key to branding, going from that Horizon 1 to Horizon 2 phase.
And we will bring up a site or two. What are the biggest mistakes that you see when you're going through companies? And what I was going to say actually before was what I really liked was you took it to the very end and you said, what is the company trying to achieve? Where are you trying to get there? You looked at Horizon 1, 2, and 3, which are obviously huge things for us as well. And working your way backwards, how many interactions are you looking for? How are you looking for them to convert on those interactions? What are you looking for the customer to feel? But talk me through like biggest mistakes people make.
Biggest mistakes people make is, the biggest one is they don't have an idea of what they want to be in the future. A brand is a future looking element. A brand is a stake in the ground of not just who you are today, but who you're going to be in a year, who you're going to be in 2 years. If you don't know who you want to be in 2 years, if you don't have an idea of who you want to be, you can't make a brand. That's the number one mistake. The number two mistake is people don't think big enough. You know, the old Steve Jobs quote, you know, we're here to put a dent in the universe. It's true. You don't think big enough. If you're thinking, I'm just here, I want to do a startup and I just want to serve Western United States region and I don't, you know what? Then fine, but you're not a startup. You're a mom and pop type.
No, you're a hobby. You're a hobby, yeah. Right? Because this is too hard to do. Look, I'll tell you, Ryan and I live in the world mainly of venture backed startups, which means that you're either going to 100 million or $1 billion or you're going nowhere, right? Because investors have to invest in you in the knowledge that they're going to get a return. That's how it works. But look, whether you're building a company that's going to get to 100 million or $1 billion, or whether you're building a company that's going to do $100,000, $200,000 a month for the next 10, 15 years, this thing is too hard to do to just play with it. It's too hard. There's too many pieces. You have to hire people. You have to deal with people. You've got to build experiences. You got to deal with product problems. You got to deal with, I mean, I don't know if, I was going to say, I don't know if anybody saw what happened on Friday. Everybody saw what happened on Friday to CrowdStrike, right? I mean, look at this. Yesterday, greatest company in the world, cybersecurity company, love this company. Today, boom, one update and all of their credibility, all of their trust, everything destroyed. It will take them years to build back that trust, if they even build back the trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hard. So, as to Ryan's point, number one, if you're going to build a startup, build something magnificent. Number two, if you're going to build something magnificent, make sure that it looks magnificent, that when you're speaking to your consumer, you're not just saying, we sell glasses, but they're special. No, like I need to understand how they're going to feel, why they're going to be different, what is the transformative impact that you actually have with me. And then I want to move to that place of trust, Ryan. Now, poor old CrowdStrike is probably past the moment where they can get trust, or maybe not.
I'm going to cut you off on that because number three is you start building your brand the day you decide to have your startup, the day you first pitch it, because your brand, as Brian's saying, is trust. Everything you do is trust. Every single action.
Sorry, I put a long comment up there, and then Ryan's like, "Thank you for the insightful presentation. That's Smart Branding. Thank you, Sunil. That's nice." Yeah, Ryan is a legend, and he's got like tons of material out there. But yeah, let's dig in. Let me take that down for you, and then let's dig into trust. So, how do you build trust? How do you maintain trust? And actually, one of the things you said to me the other day, which is kind of really insightful, is consumers are actually incredibly forgiving of the most ridiculous thing. Like even like the worst car lie ever. Who was it? Was it Honda or was it Toyota or Volvo when they lied about
VW?
Yes. Yeah. And you see, we've forgotten a little bit, even though it was the worst lie ever told.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about trust, particularly trust in the crisis point, is people are extremely forgiving if you're upfront and honest. If you show you're as vulnerable as your consumers are, as everyone else in the world is. If you're honest about it, if you're apologetic about it, but not overdoing it, not jumping over yourself, saying, yeah, we screwed up, we made a huge mistake. And then you own up to it and you move right into the fact that, trust us, we made a mistake, we owned up to it, and here's how we're going to fix it for you. And here's the crazy thing about brand. The lesson about brand is that's the same way that you would interact with if you screwed up with your best friend, if you screwed up with your partner. If you were a little kid and you had the best friend and you screwed them over, we all done it as a little kid, that's how you say you're sorry. Brand is the exact same way. Follow the rules you followed as a little kid with your best friends, and you'll build a great brand.
Okay, I like this. So what we're saying is it begins with transformative messaging. You have to have that. If your messaging is not transformative, then you're wasting your time. It is followed by authenticity, is what Ryan is saying. You can't just jump up to trust without going through authenticity. You got to be authentic with these things. And authenticity is a really, really weird word because many people, I actually did a talk once, and halfway through the talk, somebody asked me for tips on authenticity. I don't even know where to start. Like I actually, you know what? This is beyond my pay grade. You do you. But the thing is, like, authenticity is like, it is also something where you have to be vulnerable, you know? And I had this great conversation, even with one of our team members the other day, and said, like, one of the most powerful traits that you can have as a strong leader is the ability to show vulnerability. Women are amazing at it. Men suck at it. But it's one of the strongest, most powerful and bravest traits that you can possibly have is to have it. If you don't have a perfect product, look, here's the thing. I've kind of never had anybody ever say to me, my product sucks. And I kind of always have people say to me, my product is amazing, right? And both of those are part lies because we know that at the very beginning, it's impossible for your products to be perfect at the very beginning. And we're not saying like change your messaging, just say our product may break and you should be aware of it. But we are saying is like, it's okay to show bad reviews and how you reacted to them. It's okay to show that like you've learned from things that have happened before and become better. It's okay to incorporate these things in meetings and presentations that you're doing. And there was a question there which Shashank just took back down again, but I'm going to throw it back up. Do you think trust can be measured? And like, what would you recommend as trust goals?
Trust can't be quantifiably measured. You can't put a number on it and say it's going up 5 or 10%. You have your net promoter scores, and you have various people who try to do that, but inevitably they're always wrong by large percentages. What you can do is, particularly as a founder in a startup, is by talking to people, listening to them. That's how you measure your trust going out. If you're a founder and if you have, let's say you're a B2B SaaS company with 200 clients right now, you're just an early stage. And if you're not talking to 10 of those clients a week and getting an understanding of the trust and what they're saying, you're failing. That's what you need to be doing. That's how, as a startup, you measure trust. Trust goals are how much are you helping people? How much are you answering their needs and wants? What's your retention rate looking like? Watch your sentiment, ask for the reviews, how easy it is for you to ask a person for your testimonials. If people are saying, I want to give you a testimonial, guess what? Your trust is off the hook high. If you ask a person for it and they say, yeah, more than happy to, I'm a pleasure to, your trust is pretty high. If people are giving you, yeah, sure, I'd love to do one, let's do it 2 weeks, guess what? Your trust is pretty low. Those are the ways as a startup you measure your trust.
Sorry, Ryan. It's ongoing. I was just putting in there. We're going to put up Cisco's website pretty soon. We get Shashank to put it up. But like, it's ongoing, right? You can, like, everything is measured. Do you know the wonderful thing about startup? It's math. That's all it is. It's kind of like a chess game, or it's like a game of math. Every single thing is a number. The amount of outbound activities you do is a number. The amount of conversion that you have from those outbound activities, the amount of demos that you convert to sales, the amount of time that you keep a customer. Look, at the very beginning, you have no trust, right? But you have to kind of make trust there by creating it on your website so people can see that at least there's a semblance of trust. Then if you're really good, you'll start to build up consumer-generated content. You'll start to build up, as Ryan always talks about, reasons to believe on your website, like articles which are showcasing you. Your the discussions on Google around you or in other places from partners will also start to, all these things build up your trust, and it can all be measured based on your conversion. Yeah. If you have a good product, I actually, Ryan, you know what I always like to think of as like is a great way to do this is you started it on the intervention the other day, and you're like, what is your end goal? What are we trying to achieve? And we're going to work our way backwards. And then working way backwards, we know that there's only like 5 or 6 metrics that we care about. How much activity we're doing, what type of prospects we're driving, what types of meetings that we're doing, how we're converting those meetings into either sales or second meetings, whatever it is, and how much revenue is coming in and what that revenue growth looks like. And then we say, okay, it's a car engine. So if we know that the engine's not working, we know we're not hitting those metrics, maybe we're doing 25 demos and we're getting 0 sales. We know there's a few things it can be. Right? It's not going to be the outbound activity, although it might be, but there's a lower probability. Maybe it's a bad channel with the wrong type of people, but there's a lower probability. We know that it could very well be that the product is not as perfect as we want it to be. It could very well be that the trust isn't right. It could very well be that the messaging isn't right. It could very well be that you are the problem, right? And so you just have to go through a process of elimination. That's all. Right. I kind of always believe that trust can be measured.
Trust, it can be seen, it can be felt, it can be qualified, but not quantified. Because like you said, people lie on the reviews. Trust isn't about what people are saying. Trust isn't about what people are saying to you in your reviews. Trust is about how people are reacting to you. Trust is about what people are willing to give to you. I think about it this way. In order to earn, you have to earn trust. In order to earn trust, you have to deserve it. In order to deserve it, you have to prove you deserve it. And that comes through all those things that you were talking about. Showing that you're showing up for them, being there for them all the time. Sometimes being there for them all the time doesn't mean you have to be answering the phone. Sometimes it means having a well-designed AI chatbot that answers questions at 1 o'clock at a.m. Things like that, being there, it's those small acts that measure up. Now, if you do want a quantifiable way to measure an indicator of trust, one that actually proves to be is time on site directly correlates to a level of trust. The reason being is simple. If you have a person come into your website or be on your app and they drop off it quickly and abruptly, that means they hit a point where they don't trust you. They don't believe you. They don't think you're going to fulfill the promise. So a direct correlation to the level of trust, a direct correlation to the NPR score, Net Promoter Score, that a big brand will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for, is how long and how deep a company goes into their discovery process with you.
I like it.
That is a measure of trust.
Okay, and I do want to go through. Shashank, can you bring up the website for Samo, please? So we can have a look through it, and let's see if we can give some live feedback to our friend Cisco. And while you're doing that, like, so some of the other big mistakes that you see. Okay, let me lead out with one. My pet peeve is when I see just awful images which are all the same, like all the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that we've seen, like the same image of the two guys shaking hands with red ties. Okay, so listen. So we're going to wait for yours to come after this. Thank you, Shashank. Let's go to his homepage, right up the top. Is that his homepage? Click on Samo Technologies.
I mean, I would say for the homepage, to go off of what you said, a whole bunch of people just saying yeah for the image.
God. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm sorry. No, first of all, there has never been in the history of the world 6 people that look so happy while all smiling in a different direction. It's not a thing, okay? They're not really happy. Somebody just said smile. Number 2, I wonder how many times that photo has been used. I'm guessing 50,000, 70,000 maybe. A lot.
At least.
Yeah,
At least.
it's going to be everywhere. It absolutely resonates in no way whatsoever. Okay. Plus, it's got nothing to do with your freaking business. Your business is providing software engineers from abroad to somewhere else, right? There's never 6 people. First of all, software engineers don't look like this anyway, but we won't go down that road. But yeah, what kind of photo would you put in there that would resonate more with the audience, Ryan?
I mean, every photo is meant to tell a narrative that backs up the story of the copy in this case, to the left. One thing is, for the copy to the left, I wouldn't start with, say, 50%. I would start out with the value of what you're bringing, because if you start out with an offer like that, first of all, it's hard to make the image match, because what you're saying is, use us, we're cheaper. Don't never start out your primary value with you being less expensive. Say it the second thing, say it the third thing, sure, but take the value. Now, so I would start out with, hey, if your value is international, as cheesy as it is, show that you're international in it. If your value is, quite simply that, hey, we're hardworking people around the world, if you want to, show the abstract shot of a person working montage, a video with a happy customer. Use a testimonial if you're a startup in your hero. That is a powerful thing to do. Start out with a simple image that shows, hey, your international image, and then allow a person not autoplay it, but play that into the testimonial. That's a powerful way to treat your hero.
I really love that. I love that you've gone down that road. And the most important thing is that, like, when you have a situation like this, that you're able to see that you're tying into the thing that makes you special. You can reinforce that it's less. When somebody says to me, I can get you a TV at 50% off the price. What's the first thing I'm thinking? It's going to be garbage. And then what I'm going to work at is the fact that it's garbage of lesser value than the benefit I'm going to get from the lower price, right? And so you want to overcome that. To Ryan's point, you can lead in with the fact that Latin American developers are some of the top developers in the world. We have access to some of the top developers in the world, and we have facilitated a process whereby you can then manage these at a fraction of your current cost. Now I have the thought in my mind that you've got some of the top developers in the world. I don't want to miss that, right? Well, I don't mind missing a bunch of shitty developers who've got no value. And what do you think about the colors there, Ryan? You've got, that's in black with white writing on top of it. And then a little bit underneath it, maximize efficiency, minimize costs without compromising on quality, invest where it counts in growth and innovation, talent from Brazil. The concept of what he's trying to do is not bad, actually, but there's just a lot of messages, right? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Look, people don't read. People scan. Here's a simple test to see how your website's going to be read or anything's going to be read. When you look at it, squint so you can barely see it and see what words pop out. That's how people read. Here's how I read this. Save 50%, quality, growth, innovation, nothing else. Free consultation. I lost that because it looks the same as the box above it. Doesn't stand out. It's your CTA, but I didn't know it was a CTA. I just thought it was another box, and it didn't really pop. So all I saw was first save over to 50%, quality, growth, innovation. There is absolutely nothing special in that I read. Everybody says quality, growth, innovation, save over 50%.
Yeah, nobody says we charge more. But by the way, there's also another thought here as well, Ryan, that everybody should see is you have landing pages too. This is what we would almost expect to see on a landing page. And by the way, let's give credit where it's due. Most people don't even bother going for anything transformative or anything which is value-based. Most people just go straight to some boring feature. We have software developers in Latin America, and Ryan would be leading into, well, who friggin' cares if you've software developers in Latin America? Like, at least you've tried. But for anyone who hasn't tried landing pages, you should try them. Landing pages are your sales pages. They are pages that you don't necessarily have on your website. You might have them on a different place, but they're allowing you to be able to get specific messages and test those messages there. And so even though Ryan and I feel that leading in with a price message may not work, you can still test it on different landing pages. And tools like lead pages or ClickFunnels are great places to go for landing pages. But I think your point here is you're not trying to get dinner. You're just trying to get a first date, right? You got 3 seconds to scan here, and you're just trying to get them to agree to allow you to scan further.
And to Brian's point, to clarify, I'm looking at this page through the context of this is your homepage. I'm assuming that people are in the discovery point of their journey. They know they have a problem, and they're just trying to discover and create their decision sets. Because we all know, particularly in the B2B world, which this is in, people carry only 3 companies in their decision set. So your first goal in discovery is not to sell, to convince them to purchase. Your goal is to get into the decision set and be the top person in the decision set. That's your number one goal. Now, what Brian was talking about, which is those landing pages, is those are for people, as Brian said, they're for testing discovery. They're also for people who are later in the consumer journey, later down that funnel. They're for people who are either shopping, buying, have high intent. And for example, this page would work really well if it led from a paid search page that said something along the lines of, 50% off with half the price with twice the quality. A paid search ad. Because now you have a consumer journey where that intent is laid out, and the person who would be looking at that ad would already be qualified and would want that. So you have to understand your consumer. You have to understand what stage of the consumer journey they're at. Are they at discovery? Are they at awareness, discovery, intent, buying, or purchase?
And then you're going to have different ads, which you can put towards different areas of discovery. I love that point. All of your consumers are not equal. All of your ideal, even if you have an ideal customer profile, which you should have, by the way, but even if you have one, even at that stage, your ideal customer profile will be at different stages of their journey. There are some people you want to just keep warm. There are other people that you want to close. There are other people that you want to be able to renew and keep them going. And all of those people need to be spoken to differently. And what do you feel about the, let's go down the page a little bit. I think, Ryan, you're obviously going to have a problem with trust. Because
I'm going to go off on a really short tangent. You brought up. I talked to 7 startups last week. And I asked them. I said, "Hey, what's your ICP? What's your primary and secondary ICP?" 3 of them didn't, and they were startups well down the path. 3 of them didn't know what an ICP was, and 5 of them could not answer that question in a coherent manner.
That's tough.
You
can't sell anything if you don't know your ideal customer profile.
Yes, if you don't have your ICPs, as Brian said earlier, you're a hobby, not a startup.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you should there's kind of 3 types of startups. There's those startups. I'll give you a great example of what I'm about to say here. When we first started Expert Dojo, the idea was, we want to help startups be able to break through the bias in venture capital by providing incredible experts and expertise in the area of growth so that aligned greed can overtake growth, right? And we believed our ICP were startups that didn't necessarily have a tremendous access to huge amounts of money outside, and that we were going to give them access to that. That was our ICP. And it turned out that as we dug in, we realized that not all startups are equal. Even those startups that don't have access, like everybody believes they can build a unicorn. Everybody believes that they're going to do the work that's required. Everybody believes that their product is there. But the truth is there's very few executors. That's the real truth. Like most of us believe that we can execute all the way to the end with the customers. And the vast majority of us cannot. That is why there's only 1,000 or so unicorns in the world, and there's millions of people who are trying to build unicorns. So I realized our ICP was only entrepreneurs who were selling into a large enough market size with a transformative enough product, but most importantly, with the actual chops to execute what they believed that they were going to execute. That narrowed our ICP down by 98%. And now we look for that while we're working with those companies, while we're sitting here, while we're going through it. So all of you, 3 types of startups: those who have no ICP, no clue, no idea, you just sell widgets, right? Startup number 2 are startups who have ICPs, but you don't have a deep ICP. You are not spending enough time with your customer. You are not obsessing. You are not working with them. You are not making sure that you have the right ICP in place. Startup number 3, those startups that are building an ICP, which is worth building, right? Startup number 3 is the only damn place you want to live. But you have to obsess. How would you suggest, Ryan, if I'm asking you to give a few tips on this, how would you suggest on going after a good old-fashioned obsession?
Here's the first problem that I see going after it. The first problem I see is most startups who don't have this, going after that obsession, they're scared too, for some reason. They're scared to put the stake in the ground. They're scared to narrow it down and say, here's the people that we're here for. They're scared to be, for some reason, they have a trepidation to being that focused. They think, well, what if I miss this? What if I miss that? What if I miss that? And they go for everybody and therefore miss everybody. So to answer your question directly, the number one thing to do is realize nothing's guaranteed in life, but to give you the best shot at winning, you have to put the stake in the ground. You have to say, this is who I am. This is who I'm there for.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Like, don't get influenced by outside influences. Like I always said, For me, I don't care what the entrepreneur looks like. I don't care the gender. I don't care anything. I don't even measure based on any of those metrics. All I care about is ability to execute, ability to execute, ability to execute that can be measured, that can be predicted. And that's how our ICP is done. But it took us years of obsessing with our customers who just happen to be the entrepreneurs that we invest in. You have to
And,
go deep, and you got to go way deeper than just, do you like my product? Are you happy with what we're providing? Are you comfortable? No, not here.
and
And even if I go to the testimonials here, so I want to just go back to Cisco
Mhm.
for a second, and then we're going to take his website down. But where he said here, Samo delivers high quality engineers who consistently perform. I've used their services for companies and will continue future endeavors. Like, it's okay. It's a 3 out of 10. That is not someone, again, I want to bring you back to a first date. It's the end of the first date. One of the parties goes to their best friend, and their best friend said, "How was the date?" It was a very interesting lunch. We had a discussion about many factors and topics of which I will take into the future. Very engaging. It's a 3 out of 10. You ain't going back for a second date.
Now, Brian, let me ask you this on Cisco. If he just said Samo delivers high quality engineers and left it there with the person's name and everything, would that still be a 3 out of 10 or would that be a 4, 5?
A 3.5. Like, I'm looking, I want to see fan trib. Me personally, I want videos and I want fan tributes. I want people crying on camera. You're either, what did Ryan say at the very beginning of this? You're either building a hobby or you're building truly something magnificent. Magnificent is an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10 is somebody saying, before I went here, I was spending $500,000 a year. I have managed to get better quality engineers doing work that my customers love, which is costing me half of the price. Literally, I'm on holidays right now on the beach, sipping a pina colada, thanks to Cisco.
Now,
That's what you want to say.
let me ask you this other question about that first testimonial, Brian. If it was changed to, they deliver high quality engineers who got the project done in half the time, half the cost, twice the quality, that would be an impactful statement. The reason why is quite simply, we changed it from being a benign statement about you to being an active statement about what you did for someone else.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's actually an amazing comment that you just made there. It's not about the it's about, yeah, exactly. It's about it's about, so this is a really interesting comment. Like, everything that a company generally talks about when they're going through their features is about them. If we have testimonials which are saying the same thing, again, that's not helping either. We want to make sure everything is just about the customer, the customer, the customer, the customer. Okay, let's take Samo down.
Mm-hmm. As we're taking Samo down, and this is for anything and everybody, I'm going to give what I know Brian loves as the 1-2 punch for testimonials. 1 video, 2 short text testimonials. That is a great formula. 1 video, 2 text testimonials. People love the video. As Brian said, they'll see the person, get the emotion, creates the trust. Great formula for testimonials.
I go for that. 1 video, 2 text testimonials. That's okay. Good. I just want them to love. I want them to love. And actually, fan tributes. Okay, not testimonials. Okay, so here's what I want to go. Cisco, good man. There we go. Listen, Cisco, I'm just going to throw it up there because that's what you got to do. Work on making them cry. I love that. Work on making them cry, because future people will want to feel the same way. Remember, everything Ryan's speaking about is, how do you make them feel? Okay, again, Cisco right here, the LP needs to be made to serve the funnel through which the user got there. I'm not 100% sure about what that works.
It's sort of right. I would change this to be the landing page. The landing page needs to serve the need of the consumer, no matter how they got there, but match the sources. And the reason why I kind of convoluted that, and this is kind of an esoteric topic I can talk on for hours, is the funnel in reality no longer exists. You can do an entire, if you can do an entire stages of the funnel in 2 minutes with a influencer if you plan it well. So you have to look at the funnel in a decentralized way, but you have to make sure that the primary sources that you plan on going into the landing page is a sequential, fluid journey. So think of it as those journeys, not a funnel.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I like this actually. I want to speak to this. I want to bring up Sunil last. And then you're going to finish it out, Ryan, with some insightful advice about how to build great branding inside your company. And I want to, as I'm looking at Sunil here, I think of my kid in school, right? My kid's 17 years old. So we're not sure like what age that the students are actually at, but my kid's 17 years old. Who is the person who cares most about free educational resources to students at home? Who cares most in my family? Who are you speaking to?
For me, you're speaking to your wife.
I think so. Because you know my wife. Like, it's definitely not my kid. Like, my kid doesn't give a shit. And that's a problem in itself. But like, he doesn't give a shit, right? Me, I give a little bit more of a shit. But like, if he doesn't give a shit, I'm like, you know what, son, you're on your own. But my wife, being a deeper and more caring and more loving person, she's like, no, he's my son. I have to actually care about him. So I care deeply. And so if you can bring, first of all, she could give two hoots about free educational resources. What she cares about is educational resources that work better than the other stuff. Remember, free generally has no value. You can bring it in afterwards if you want to. Most of us assume that free is going to be garbage until we're convinced otherwise. Thank you, Cisco.
Yeah. And I would tag onto that almost, I'm in the same boat as Brian. My wife would care 100 times more than I would. I would care slightly more than my child. But my wife won't care even if they're educational resources. My wife would care, first of all, educational resources. That's just to have that in your vocabulary. It sounds like you're the principal from Back to the Future. You know, that's just walking around the halls, busting people for being in. What my wife would care about, what people care about is you're giving them the tools and the ability to help their child succeed.
You know what, Ryan, just for fun, Shashank, would you bring up home2read.com, please? Take down Cisco's. Let's get home2read.com, only because I just want to see one thing. Home2read.com has a very high bar for trust, very high bar. Cisco actually, funny enough, has a lower bar for trust because, like, as parents, we're so used to being let down by literally everybody around us in the educational world that, like, our expectation is that anybody who's going to give us any kind of educational assistance or help is going to be giving us garbage. So what have we got here? Home to Read, daily news, technology plus education equals success. I'm not convinced. Okay, keep going down the page a little bit. Okay, a lot of users, exams, tests, current affairs, explore test series, daily news. What do you do? There's nothing.
I mean, and not to be harsh, but to be harsh, I quit paying attention the first second. Yeah. If you go to the top and reload the page, the very first, right there, right away, I thought, oh wait, before you gave me any content, I thought you're giving me a really cheap ad.
Is that an ad? What is that?
It's not an ad, but I thought it was.
But what
I don't know what it is.
Chances by 16x. Okay, yeah. I don't know who's developing your website, but you need a guy give him a swift slap on the back of the head, as my dad used to say. And technology plus education does not equal success. If technology plus education equals success, then every single school in the world which has a platform and a technology platform would be successful. They're not. You have to offer something else. What is it you're doing? And you can put it in chat if you like, and then we can throw it up here. What is it you are doing that is transforming the lives of the people that you are speaking with?
And
Daily
keep in
nuggets
mind,
to ponder on. Like, I give two shits about daily news or daily nuggets to ponder on. Current affairs, I don't care about. Like, tell us. There's too much words here. Look at the words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Too many words. More words. More words. More words. You heard what Ryan said.
I'm
Nobody
going,
reads anything.
I'm going to give you a trick. Start with the outcome and go backwards. If
Beautiful.
you can't figure out your message, this won't always be right, but this is your best bet to start with. Start with the outcome, and not just the simple outcome, not higher test scores, but as Brian keeps on saying, start with the transformative impact. That's the outcome. What's the outcome? My kid will have a happier life because they'll have a better career, because they will have learned to enjoy and love education, because they got better access and they learned how to do things better and their school experience was better because I found this wonderful website. And what did this wonderful website do? They made it so my child could succeed, because it turned the world's most boring, hardest, hated task for any kid into something that was painless.
I love that. Hey, by the way, Ryan, you know who did this amazingly well? General Assembly. I don't know if you remember General Assembly back in the day. General Assembly used to charge $20,000 to $25,000 for a 15, 20-week course, which was in the evenings. And what they would do is they would teach UI, UX, product development, all that kind of stuff. It was really amazing. They had a place just down the road. They got acquired for, I think, $1 billion or close to $1 billion. And what they would say, because they were charging 20 grand for like 15, 20 weeks. And so for most people, the sticker shock when they hear of that is like, whoa. But then they would say, our students earn an average of 15,000 more than students that have not gone through General Assembly. That was what it said on their website. And so then the question became not about, oh, can you afford to spend 20 grand? It's like, can you afford not to spend 20 grand? Because if you come through here, the probability is, not the chances, the probability is that you will be earning 15,000 a year more. And over a lifetime of 20 years, that's like $300,000 that you just earned for an investment of 10% of that. Are you crazy? Of course you should make the investment. Got to speak to your transformative impact. If you're not doing that, like this is telling us nothing. And look, just go to the page one more time. There's no trust. There's no parents fan tributes. There's no reasons to believe that you like on the site. The colors are crazy. Like we got greens, we got purples, we have Shashank, just go down a little bit, please, if you don't mind. Yeah, and we got reds. Reds. You know what red stands for? Red is danger. Danger.
And you've managed to do something very special. You've given me a whole lot of information, and I'm still not 100% sure what exactly it is that you do.
Yeah. Make it simple. Just so first of all, burn this, okay, and then go to a whiteboard and look at your consumers. Actually, have conversations. Have like 10 or 15 conversations with people who've used it, and say these words. I would like to know the transformative impact that my company had on you. There is no you. That my company had on you, so we can make a note, and you're going to write all of that transformative impact down, and that's going to become your hero statement to Ryan's point. Then you're going to write underneath that in your what, exactly what it is that you provided to those people to give them that transformative impact. Then you are going to write a CTA, a call to action. Then you are going to put testimonials and fan tributes, so it doesn't look like this garbage here. Okay.
And I'm going to give you a framework that when you're doing that, what Brian's just said, that you can use. And this is a framework that billion-dollar companies use. This is a framework that a consultant would charge you $50,000 for. When you ask them what was the transformative impact, ask them why. And then when they give you an answer, ask them why was that again? Ask them why 5 times. It is the 5 why framework. And you will get incredible, that just digs down into the real root of their emotion that they have with you. And you will get incredible insights into your brand.
By the way, just saying it's for poor students isn't enough for the messaging to be bad. And so you are looking for people that you're not looking for poor people, right? You're looking for people who want to transform. If you happen to be offering an amazing program at no cost or a very low cost, incredible. But that's not your value. Your value is not, I help I'm just trying. For some reason, a Kendrick Lamar song jumped into my head. Them not like us. It's like it's not that you're gonna. It's not that you're trying to help people who are poor and give them garbage. You've got to transform them first. Then you justify the price. Okay, listen, that's it. This is a great way to end. I wanna take this down if you don't mind. Because look, you know what to do. You know what to do. Actually, you don't know what to do. But look, you have a choice. Choice number one is Ryan and I both feel very specifically and very desperately and very surely, if that's a word, that this thing is not good enough. You can do way better than this by simplifying, right? You may speak to other people who'll give you another opinion. You may have another opinion yourself. Take whatever opinion it is that wins and then implement change, okay? We've given you a framework to be able to do it. Ryan, as I want to take this down before we finish with your final comments. So Shashank, please remove said website from the screen. And then, great sage, can you please share with us in final words for all of the people who are here, who are going away with their week right now, what is it that they should do to have a magnificent week with the beginning of the most incredible brand that they could have ever imagined?
The one thing that you can do, and I think we've mentioned this already, is if you go bigger, lean into your dream, go big or go home with that. Here's the reason why. There's a lot easier ways to make a living and make a buck than to run a startup. You're running a startup because you have a purpose. Home to Read. Look, there is a massive vision behind Home to Read that is just waiting to break through. You're trying to elevate people who are the forgotten ones in the education system, because they're the ones, because if there are 100 people forgotten in the education system, one of them can change the world. That's what you're doing. Look at your bigger vision and make sure that bigger vision is in your brand, because each and every startup founder has a big vision. Don't hide it. Bring it out.
Okay, I'm going to give one little extra one as well, because I got finished where we started. So first of all, branding and storytelling. That's what Ryan tells me all the time. You got to build a story. Stories were told around the fire. They were interesting. They were exciting. They were fun. You would, if you were around 100 years ago, you would go to the storyteller of the town and you would want to hear the incredible story as they're spoken in whispers while people are listening to this incredible person that's enlightening and entertaining you, right? That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do in brand, but you're supposed to do it in a way that is going to be transformative for the person on the other side. Don't sell yourself short with no story, right? And so there are many things that you can get wrong. That's okay, right? You get your Facebook ads wrong, it's okay. You get your Google ads wrong, it's okay. You get your partnerships, your email marketing, your LinkedIn. You can fuck up anything you want. The only reason you started this business is because you have a story, you have a purpose, and you want to build an incredible brand that transcends to an entirely different place. So look, don't be that person who doesn't build a brand, doesn't build a story, doesn't build emotional resonance, doesn't build anything like that, because them not like us. Them not like us. Okay? That's it. That's all we got. Them not like us.
Yes.